First up, we have Evil Cable Rat, 2 mana 1/1 beast, Battlecry, add a lackey to your hand. Now let's talk about the purpose of this card. If a new player or an arena player goes, "Sweet, I wanted to try out lackeys in my deck," then Evil Cable Rat has them covered. Otherwise, well, lackeys aren't worth quite as much as drawing a card since they're both random and disposable. So one quick compare-contrast with Novice Engineer later, and this gets a sadly lacking. And should go without saying, won't see play. Sorry rats, go get that cheese, you'll feel better. Next we have Traveling Healer, 4 mana 3/2 minion, Divine Shield, Battlecry, restore 3 health. Another relatively simple card, meaning we can determine its worth with another compare-contrast. In some circumstances, this card is just worse than Earthen Ring Farseer, if the Divine Shield is popped efficiently. The Farseer has seen play before, ages ago, so this ain't exactly the best piece in the business. Just given how this card can do a little bit of everything, I don't have the heart to give it a sadly lacking. However, it's only fun for the arena, won't see play. Third up is Clockwork Goblin, 3 mana 3/3 warrior mech, Battlecry, shuffle a bomb into your opponent's deck. When drawn, it explodes for 5 damage. We've seen a couple cards similar to this over time, one of which is still in standard. While below average in stats, the bomb makes this card completely worth it, if you can increase the odds of it activating. Using my new fancy formula system, this is represented as nil enemy reserve, which looks complicated, but in actuality is just get rid of your opponent's deck, which is exactly what control decks do. So the right deck can make this strong if it's able to burn out the opponent's deck over time. And given that this is a mech and Warrior will have plenty of mech synergies going into Rise of Shadows, it seems pretty likely it will see play. Next we have Calibre, 4 mana 3/2 warrior weapon. After your hero attacks, shuffle a bomb into your opponent's deck. This is like the last card, but with more emphasis on the nil enemy deck bomb factor. With that in mind, I'm mildly concerned that the archetype won't have enough early control pieces for the deck to work. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This card puts a little too much weight on a complicated factor, so it gets a stupid unless it isn't. Whether it sees play depends on whether this bomb control archetype can actually come together. Or not. Moving on, we have Dr. Boons Scheme. 4 mana warrior spell, gain 1 armor, upgrading each turn. Alright, so for this to be as powerful as Branching Paths, you would need to wait 11 turns! Most games don't even last 11 turns. You're gonna have this card decay in your hand for that amount of time? Get out of here! Compare this to Ironhide, which notably never saw play. You wait 4 turns, and this card is as strong as Ironhide for quadruple the mana cost. So, why is this card so bad? Well, my hypothesis is that the original card was completely different. Just look at how the art uses bombs rather than armor. It's likely that late in development, Blizzard nixed whatever card that was and replaced it with this. We might never know what could have been, but what we have right now is a well-deserved mostest stupidest. Last warrior card of the day, we have Blastmaster Boom. 7 mana 7/7 warrior legendary, Battlecry, summon 2 1/1 boom bots for each bomb in your opponent's deck. And there it is, the culmination of this bomb archetype. Now, having a single bomb makes this card as strong as, well, its alter ego. 2 or 3, even more so. It's worth noting that this dynamic works best if the player isn't hugely fortunate and their opponent hasn't drawn the bombs yet. Just a funny little quirk of how this deck operates. If your opponent's unlucky, you're unlucky. Anyways, it's a clear tempo board card with circumstantial use, but lots of power and potential for face damage. Deck defining? Certainly. As for playability, well, that depends on if the deck it defines is decent. Now, on to rogue cards, we have hench-clan Burglar. 4 mana 4/3 rogue pirate, Battlecry, discover a spell from another class. This is our first glance into Rogue's new tool, discovering cards from any random class instead of just the opponent's. This is to make mirror matches less terrible for Thief Rogue archetypes. However, the problem is that the variance of this card's discover is all over the place. The card pool draws from 8 different classes' spells, each of which have completely different mechanics. Who knows what could be drawn? The card itself, though, has decent stats, considering that it gives you a card. Fun for the arena, probably won't see play. Small chance that pirate and multi-class synergies save it, but unlikely. Onwards, we have Unidentified Contract. 6 mana rogue spell, destroy a minion, plus one of the following effects. Summon a 1/1 patient assassin, add 2 coins to your hand, deal its damage to adjacent minions, or add a copy of it to your hand. Ah, the callback from Kobolds and Catacombs. I always did like the unidentified cards. In this case, each of the cards are very nicely created and balanced, generally serving as anti-board with the potential splash of value. This makes all the forms of the contract easy to use in the same deck, which lowers variance, which is good. So all things considered, this card is pretty good. The question therefore is, can Control Rogue work? I won't say definitively since historically it hasn't worked, but right now Rogue has got a lot of interesting pieces that might help. We'll just have to see. Our final Rogue card for today is Heist Baron Togwaggle. 6 mana 5/5, Battlecry, if you control a lackey, choose a fantastic treasure. Examine these treasures at your leisure, they're all the ones we got from Marin the Fox. Oh boy, is this versatile and interesting. Controlling a lackey is not too complicated, assuming the deck has been adequately built. Maybe you need to wait until turn 7 to play one with Togwaggle, but even then that's fine. As for the treasures, each is strong in their own special way, which is good because Togwaggle gets to choose his favorite at his leisure. Clearly a deck-defining card with probable odds for the meta, given how fitting lackeys are to Rogue's class identity. Now we'll move on to Mage. Starting off we have Messenger Raven, 3 mana 3/2 Mage Beast, Battlecry, discover a Mage minion. I'm not going to waste too much time here. It seems pretty clear that Blizzard are balancing Discover cards to be slightly stronger. While class minions are typically stronger than base minions, this card still only has enough power to be fun for the arena. As for seeing play, probably not, but maybe in a tempo deck that likes a bit of randomness. Next up is Power of Creation. 8 mana Mage spell, discover a 6-cost minion, summon 2 copies of it. Alright, there are 2 ways to judge this card. Let's call those ways the lazy approach and the in-depth approach. The lazy approach is to make a simple observation. Cards Blizzard has printed that summon random minions have almost never seen play. On top of that, this card is an 8 mana tempo board card, which also don't usually see play. So I could conclude this card is fun for the arena won't see play off of those observations alone. Or I could get more in-depth and assess all of the different 6 mana cards in the game that this card can summon. That's exactly what I did, and the results were, well, kinda pathetic. In the last 3 expansions, the strongest 6 mana neutral card was Damaged Stegatron, while the second strongest was, and I kid you not, a tie between Genn Greymane and Spark Drill. And Genn is going to the Hall of Fame. Meanwhile, options like Meteorologist, Arcanosaur, and Arcane Dynamo are also in the pool. It's sad to say, but the number of decent 6 mana cards this can summon is very small, while pathetic options are quite common. So I could say with confidence that this card gets the same rating that the lazy approach found. And finally, we have Khadgar, 2 mana 2/2 Mage Legendary. Your cards that summon minions summon twice as many. At last we have ourselves a combo card, a card designed specifically to be used in conjunction with others. A 2 mana minion that provides a boost like this is one of the more ideal versions of this flavor of card, and it's looking like we'll see more like it in the future. Now this card looks pretty balanced, but there's one problem with it, and this is where that fancy formula system I have gets to shine. See, combo and board are opposites on this wheel, meaning that they synergize the least. Combo cards are unique in that they amplify the other values, but they're best when they're used to damage face or to draw cards. Minions that try to use opposite ends of the wheel need to be exceptionally powerful to see play, and even then, they often do not. This card tries to enable a combo board deck, which hypothetically could exist, but realistically dies to aggro. I hope that by some unexpected altering of Hearthstone's balance, Khadgar is able to shine and make that deck a reality. But judging from how these mechanics usually work, it's more likely this card will be stupid, and more likely that it won't see play.